everyone, and welcome back to another Exo Heroes video. Today we're going to be bringing you our long-awaited Awakening guide, and we're going to look at Awakening in a lens that we think hasn't been looked at by the community too much, and that's including both PvP and PvE elements. So without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, I think by now, most of the people in the community are probably pretty familiar with how Awakening works as a mechanic, so we won't dwell too much on that. I'm pretty sure you guys already know how it works. If you don't, leave it in the comment section down below and we're happy to explain it to you. So today, what we want to focus on is to talk about the Guardian Stone set. Which Guardian Stone set that we think are the best, and who are they most suitable for? And we're going to divide this into two sections. We believe there are 3 Guardian Stone sets that are definitely not as good as the other 3. And let's start with the 3 that we think you should be avoiding. First, let's start with the Frost set. What Frost set gives you is, if you have 3 equipments that have Frost set, it gives you a plus 175 defense to your hero when it's awakened. If you have a full set of 6, it gives you additional 700 defense. On the surface, this sounds great. Right, defense is amazing, 700 is no joke. However, the existence of elemental damage means this set is essentially useless in the late game. Because what elemental damage does, if you don't already know, is it gives you additional damage and it scales up depending on how much mana you're using. But more importantly, 1, elemental damage can crit. Secondly, it also ignores defense. So the fact that you have extra defense does not protect you against elemental damage at all. And this is very important to keep in mind, because if you are someone who is considering awakening a hero, it's safe to say you are a late game player, right? So you're either up against late game PvE area, or most likely you're in the high level, high tier, we're talking about challenger tier or higher PvP areas. And most of your opponents are definitely going to have elemental damage on some of their heroes, especially as we move through the next couple of weeks, as more and more people are getting additional generals to get those elemental damage online. So defense essentially becomes a very subpar set when it compares to HP. And since Frost set is purely defense, the benefit of it is much lower for those of you who are in the late game. And some people might argue that, heroes like Shufraken scales well with defense, and obviously, with higher defense, you have a higher chance of getting the Fear of Abyss mark on the opponent. We would argue that on the surface, yes, but given that Shufraken is a fated defender with very good base defense, he's going to have enough defense regardless whether you have Frost set or not to have the Fear of the Abyss mark on just about all the high priority targets on the other team, right? The likes of Dorka, likes of FC Diva, FC Rira. Shufraken is going to have higher defense than them regardless. So at this point, with additional defense, sure, it might help you to get, the mark on the likes of Mahar, Ulum, or Garth with Frost set, but are they really the target that you want, or targets that you really care about? In our opinion, probably not. It's probably better, in our opinion, just to go with the Fire set, as we'll mention later, and just go with more HP.
So a lot of the discussion so far around the Frost set and it being not so good has been focused around PvP and the existence of elemental damage and signature force. Now, if we look at this from a PvE lens, I'm not quite sure why you would awaken somebody specifically for PvE, but in the event that you do, let's say you just want to avoid PvP entirely, then we think that the Frost set could be a little valuable in that, like how mentioned earlier, 700 defense is a lot, and considering there's, I believe, no damage in PvE so far that just straight up ignores defense, this could probably carry you pretty far. Now, we still don't recommend it, but if you're just a PvE player, we could see the possibility that you might want to use this set. Now, moving on to the next Guardian Stone set that you should avoid, that's Light. And this breaks down into a 3-stone set and a 6-stone set. So with 3 stones, you'll get 50 defense and 3 dodge, and with 6, you get 200 defense and 12 dodge. So this one is actually probably the best of the 3 sets that we want to avoid, but it's still inferior to nature, and we'll talk about why later. So you look at these numbers, and dodge plus 12 is pretty good. And if you're considering awakening with the light set, this should probably be put on heroes with high innate dodge rate, so chaos heroes, assassins like Jin, Rira, Baraka. And this can be useful for heroes solely in PvE purposes, as elemental damage isn't currently present in PvE content, so the increase to defense again can provide some benefit there. Especially if you have a hero who's dedicated for Upir's Labyrinth, consider putting this set on them and just pray that they could dodge the incoming damage from bosses, especially stage 5. If not, maybe that 200 defense can just barely save you. So why don't we move on to the Darkness set then?
Yeah, so with the Darkness set, I think it's a similar story as the Light and Frost set. It still provides defense, and as we mentioned, defense in late game PvP scenarios are just not good at this point. Additionally, what it also gives you is, if you have 3 set, it gives you plus 5.4 additional hit, or 12 if you can have a whole set of 6. This is fairly useless in our opinion in a lot of the PvE situations. In PvP, however, the additional hit we'll touch on a little bit later does provide value, and we think that's something that can be good. But obviously, in PvE, we don't think it provides all that much value because there are really not a lot of scenarios where you will be missing your attacks all that often. So in this case, we really can't recommend the Darkness set all that much. As Edward mentioned, of the 3 sets we've talked about so far, the only one that we can think of that has some sort of utility is probably the Light set with the dodge and defense combination. But as we'll talk about shortly, the next 3 sets are just, in our opinion, objectively better. So why don't we start there?
So now as we begin to move into the 3 sets that we do recommend Awakening on, the first of them is Machine. And so you're going to notice a trend here. All 3 of these sets are going to have something in common, and that is they give you HP compared to defense, which the bottom 3 sets had. And at the end, we'll talk about the reason for this. So Machine set breaks down into 2s. It's 2, 4, and 6 stones. And we'll just talk about the max. 6 stones, HP, you get 3,000, and hit, you get plus 12. So this is not as good as the Nature set or the Fire set, but we do see uses of this for burst heroes that go first in a fight. If you've watched our PvP meta prediction video, one of the comps we talked about was very damage heavy. All of those heroes were burst, they had no survivability, and it was all about winning in that first turn or first round. And so in those all or nothing situations, you really want to make sure that you are hitting your opponent. You don't want any dodges, and I guess you don't want any blocks either, but that has nothing to do with hit. So in this case, while the Machine set might not be able to offer you higher dodge like Nature, it does provide a bit more HP for survivability. And in our opinion, just in case the enemy's running a similar idea and they're also trying to get you on the first turn, that HP could save you, because you're likely going to be awakening these stones on an offensive hero who has low HP and defense to begin with, and that little buffer might be the game changer for you. Ultimately, this set is really just about hit, and then the HP is a nice little bonus on top of that. If you're running a comp where you need to win in the first round or you lose, then Machine set might be the way to go for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think Machine set is, in our opinion, probably solely a PvP set as solely for a very offensive lineup. On the other hand, we have the Nature set, and the Nature set is in many ways similar to the Machine set, but we do think it offers a little bit more flexibility. You can put this set on heroes that needs more survivability, but at the same time you can also put this set on heroes who just needs to do more damage, but they might be just a little bit slower than some of the top tier heroes, and you want to make sure that they can survive the first couple of turns. So let's take a look at a Nature set. Again, it gives you HP. At the max 6 stones, you get 2000 HP, which is good, not great, but it's okay. And you also get 12 dodge, so 12 dodge is really good. And in our opinion, this is the best set for offensive heroes. Especially chaos heroes who already have very high dodge rate, this can put them to that level where they can consistently dodge incoming attacks. And this is great because a lot of the chaos heroes have lower HP, they're pretty squishy, but they can do quite a bit of damage for you. So how do you keep them safe? Do you give them more HP? Unless you give them 10,000 HP, it's not gonna do too much to them, right? A couple thousand HP here and there, not gonna do too much. Similarly, if you give them a little bit more defense, their base defense is pretty low, it's not gonna make a difference. The best way to keep them alive is if somehow they can dodge incoming attacks and just don't take damage at all. And dodge, in this case, is very important. So in terms of recommendations, we're thinking heroes like Rira, Diva, Jane are all great to be awakened with Nature sets. More importantly, when you think about outside of PvP situations, when you look at certain PvE situations, such as your Pierce Labyrinth, especially on stage 5, you want to dodge those incoming attacks that can essentially one-shot anyone on your team. Dodge set, Nature set with dodge makes a great option for you. Similarly, in Lunatic levels, for the special dungeons, right? Those are also great because they hit really hard. The best way to avoid taking damage is not taking damage. So in our opinion, Nature set just provides a set of bonuses and stats that are very versatile that can be used in many places. And outside of specific tanky heroes, we think Nature set is the go-to option right now. But with that, let's move on to the last set, which is going to be Fire, and I'll let Edward cover that.
Okay, so here we are with the last set, and in our opinion, and we believe this is reflective of the greater community's opinion as well, the Fire set is the premier Guardian Stone set to be awakening on. Why is that? Because at 6 stones, it gives you 5,000 additional HP. And that's all. It just gives you 5,000 HP. Which I think that saying the word just is maybe not doing it justice. And here's the reason why. It is best right now for heroes to be tanky because this just provides so much utility in all aspects of the game, low tier PvP, high tier PvP, PvE, everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, heroes like Tanselo, Iris, Garf all benefit hugely from HP. And it synergizes super well with Dorka's passive healing since it's based off % missing health. So the more health you have, the more you're going to potentially heal. And in addition to this, added HP also is the best defense right now against elemental damage, which we've mentioned throughout the guide. Signature Force is a thing, whether we like it or not. It's going to continue to become a thing, and as more people get it, I personally don't want to be taking 10 to 15k crits that just go straight through my defense and die, right? So the 5,000 HP is going to give you that huge pillow, so when you get hit by that elemental damage, you can just fall back and be okay. Additionally, this is by far the best set in PvP for most heroes. DPS, frontliners, everyone. Red set, if you're not sure what to go with, just go Fire. And of course, like we mentioned, in PvE as well, I mean, what situation wouldn't you want to use HP? Except for some of those weird Pierce Labyrinth stages where it's like, oh, highest HP person dies instantly, then you might want to try to avoid this. But for the most part, having more HP is just always something that's handy to have, and seeing as it's the only real counter to elemental damage right now, it's probably what most of you guys should be building.
Yep, definitely agree. So I think, this is going to be it for us today. Just to wrap it up and give you guys a quick summary. When it comes to choosing different Guardian Stone sets for Awakening, the rule of thumb is if it has defense, don't do it, right? Because right now, especially if you're thinking about late game, defense is not going to help you all that much against elemental damage. In certain PvE situation, if you do need a hero who needs to focus on its attack, Machine set can be a good option with its hit. Otherwise, it's either Nature set for the added dodge rate or Fire set for additional survivability and that HP cushion it provides. So hopefully this gives you guys a better understanding of how to think about Guardian Stone sets when it comes to Awakening. This is a very important mechanics if you do want to climb the PvP ladder and do those late game PvE dungeons and story quests and things like that. So hopefully this will help you guys a little bit on your quest to conquer the game. But with that being said, this is gonna be it for us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. We have a bunch of other Exo Hero related content coming out as well, so stay tuned for those. And we'll see you in the next episode very soon.
Peace.